What's going on, everybody, and welcome to a special Godzilla figure review. Today, we are going to be taking a look at my very first Godzilla figure from Hiya Toys. Now, Hiya Toys has been buzzing around on the market lately. They are probably the thing closest to S.H Monsterarts. In fact, it's actually starting to get to the point where Hiya may be the more popular brand than S.H Monsterarts simply due to its pricing. It is a little bit cheaper than S.H Monsterart figures. And speaking from experience, I have several Monster Art figures, so yeah, I can tell you they're quite expensive. This is a figure I did not plan on even acquiring. I kid you not, I ran into this figure at GameStop. I went into GameStop just like one of my normal trips there, you know, seeing what new Funko Pops were there, and then I just saw this sitting at the back. And it's used, it's opened, which is why they were selling it at a much cheaper price, but I never owned a Hiya toy product, so let's give it a shot, because there are going to be Hiya toy products coming for GXK in the coming months, such as Shimo, Pink Godzilla, Muto, the Skullcrawler, lots of figures to look forward to, and I do want to take a look at those and do videos on those. So let me do some research. Let me do my homework, get used to the Hiya brand first before we tug into the real stuff. This is the Heat Ray Godzilla from Godzilla vs. Kong. I'm not sure when this one released, but it's definitely not new. It's pretty old, and if I can find the actual date, when was this distributed? 2023, so this was actually made last year. So it's not too old, just a year ago. So it's obviously not new, but it's obviously, I trust the guy at GameStop that he packed everything, because it was an empty box when I purchased it, so hopefully he didn't miss anything. I paid around 40 bucks for this. The normal retail price will be around 60 for a sealed box, so I saved 20 bucks for a used figure. If it's in great condition, that's all that matters. I don't even care if it's used, just make sure everything is intact. So we're going to be basically testing the waters on the Hiya brand via this video, see how it goes. So let's dive right into it. So we got the box here. We have a beautiful night sky with Godzilla up front. Looks like he's just finished trampling over Hong Kong. I mean, this is kind of trying to set the scene here. I see what they're doing. It's pretty tacky. And we have the Hiya brand at the bottom. We got Monsterverse logo, and then we have some of the other labels, and then we got the Godzilla vs. Kong logo up here, and then also down here, and then on the side we have this, and then here's the back, and then here's the other side with a glam of the Godzilla figure, and then here's the back. Very straightforward info, nothing too crazy here, just the production information, barcode, all that, pretty sick. So yeah, the boxes are usually quite straightforward when it comes to these figures. For S.H Monsterarts, it's very straightforward, but the detailing is very nice. The box art is very beautiful. So let's dive into this one, Hiya Toys. First time getting a Hiya product, so let's see how this holds up, being the more affordable option for a high-end Godzilla or just a Monsterverse figure as a whole. So let's crack this open. Here it is. When I purchased it, it was just the empty box. And then after paying for it, the guy went inside the storage unit and then actually got the stuff, which is this. So I think that's why there's this GameStop logo right here, just to make sure it matches and not give me the wrong item. But the way this is packaged is pretty nice. This piece is already coming off, so let's take this out. I guess this one contains the atomic breath and a new headpiece and a new neck piece. I didn't expect a new neck piece. Okay. Let's take out the bulk first, the main figure. Oh, this feels very high quality, I'm not gonna lie. Okay, let's take this out of the plastic. Definitely bought something special here. Unfortunately, I can see right out the get-go, the dorsal plates are crooked. That's great. All right, then we have this plastic, which has the atomic breath. Wow, this is a very clean atomic breath compared to some of the previous iterations of Godzilla. And then we have the extra head and the extra neck. There we go. So now that it's been taken out of the package, I guess we'll look at this first before we swap out the head, because I assume this is the head that will attach the atomic breath piece. Is it this way or this way? I can't tell. Also comes with an extra neck piece. This is the additional head piece. Yeah. That looks pretty sick. Now, Hiya quality. A lot of people sing Hiya's praises. In fact, a lot of people say it's better than S.H Monsterarts. And right off the get-go, I can already tell you, I can see what they mean. This does feel very high quality because first and foremost, it feels dense. It's heavy, there's weight, and the plastic also feels very strong. It feels very high quality. So this should be a pretty durable figure. Ironically, the S.H Monsterarts Godzilla that I have from GVK, that one released in 2021, that one is fragile. I can unfortunately say that if I dropped it, its arms would come off, and you can put it back together, but it's too fragile. And people say Hiya Toys is better for their detailing compared to S.H Monsterarts. I am not sure. But for this Godzilla's case, I can see there's good coloring, especially at the dorsal plates. You can see there's different shades of blue, which starts off with white, then a light blue, then the tip is just mainly dark blue. So that's actually pretty tacky. And then the scales is, you got like silver, light silver, that's pretty good. But as I was saying earlier, there's weight to the figure. It's hard to really show it on camera, but when I pick it up, I can feel that this figure has, at least have some mass, which is good because it doesn't feel cheap. And with S.H Monsterarts, the Godzilla does feel quite light, and especially for that price point, I just felt like I was paying too much for too little, if that makes any sense. Now, articulation, I'm like fumbling around this figure, and looks like there's tail articulation, which is very nice. All flexible ball sockets, so that's pretty good. Also, I'd like to mention that one of my biggest gripes with Godzilla figures has been fixed here, or just consistent, is the colors is consistent. You can see the blue is, going throughout the entire tail to the dorsal plate. It's keeping the exact same color scheme, and that's really good. There's no awkward cutoffs like what Playmates has been doing with the pink Godzilla. So yeah, there is none of that here for this Godzilla. And keep in mind, this is technically King of Monsters Godzilla as well. So you can, you can recreate some of your favorite battles if you need a Godzilla figure. I believe this one's still out. Remember, I found this at GameStop of all places. Apart from the tail, like going back to articulation, there's articulation, don't get me wrong, but it's very tight. So you can move his legs, you can also move his knees, you can also twist his feet, so that's pretty good. And so I assume the articulation is somewhat decent here. Like I hope, especially because of the mass weight, like the weight of this figure, it doesn't get in the way of the articulation, if that makes any sense. I don't want the joints to be too stiff. Luckily, that's not the case. Then for the arms, you can move it up. This is where it gets really tight for some reason. It's very stiff up here. You can twist the hands. You can kind of move the elbows as well, so that's pretty good. But apart from that, I'm not sure why the shoulders is really stiff. Maybe I just need to play with it a little more. Just keep moving it like this and eventually it'll loosen up. But overall, the articulation is great. There is articulation and it's good, just tight. That's the main issue. It needs to be a little bit more flexible. And then, is there head movement? I would assume there is. Now the question is, how do you take off the head if you're gonna give us the extra head pieces? You can see you can twist the neck a little bit. There's a couple points of articulation here, so that's pretty good. You can see the detailing on the head. You can see the eyes are pretty tacky, as well as the mouth, really radiating with blue. And then also the texture is also pretty solid. You can see that the scales, you can see it, it's quite evident on here. So this makes me wonder when we get the new Godzilla, so there's gonna be a supercharged Godzilla where he's completely blue, and then we have a regular normal Godzilla coming, and then we're gonna have pink Godzilla. I will be getting all three of them, so I can't really compare it now, but in the future, when I get those figures, I'll do a comparison with this original Godzilla. This is my first one, keep that in mind. So I have nothing to work with, and my S.H Monsterarts figures are kind of locked away at the moment, so I can't take them out for a comparison. But overall, for 40 bucks, remember, I paid for a used figure here, and it's actually pretty good. You know, even for used, the condition is pretty sick, so the previous owner took care of this very well, and I guess the people at GameStop cleaned it before they resold it. So yeah, that means it's a good quality. If the previous owner was able to retain that quality, then you know that this figure can last. The only bit of damage I can see is, like, obviously you can see up here the door still plates is a little bit bent. Maybe it was just like that already in packaging. Maybe it wasn't the previous owner's fault. I don't know, but that was really the only bit of damage, or you can so-called damage, that I saw here. Now, again, how do you swap the head? I'm curious on that bit, because clearly I need to do that in order to swap to the extra head pieces to get the atomic breath. So I'm just gonna fiddle around with this for a second, and then I'm gonna tell you when I figure it out. Well, I figure it out. All you gotta do is use a little force, and it just pulls apart like that. And then I guess to get the atomic breath, you gotta put this on now. This is such a cursed image. And then it's on a ball socket. Oh, I get it. I see. This neck piece allows his head to be put upwards, so either he can roar into the sky, or if you want him swimming, you know, he can look up like that. So he's doing his swimming pose, if you will. That makes a lot more sense. So there you go. That gives you an idea of what it is. So turns out I don't need that neck piece if I want to get the atomic breath head in. All I gotta do is just pull off the head and swap that out. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. The new head should be in. Also, I missed a major point of articulation, so before anyone leaves a comment pointing me out on it, I caught it. It's big articulation here. It's very stiff. Not that big, but as you can see, you can kind of twist his body, his main body a little bit. So there's waist articulation here, so that's pretty good. There is more points articulation, meaning this is a very interactive toy, whereas it's just normal circumstances, these things would just be collectibles to sit on the shelf. I don't recommend kids going around these things because these are quite delicate, and also there's a lot of small parts which could pose as a choking hazard. So leave this quality of figures to more mature collectors, and then the kids can get the Playmate stuff. That's how I see it. We swapped out the head with the one that he's actually roaring. This was the one I wanted to get in the first place, so there you go. That's what it looks like, pretty tacky. You can see the inside of his mouth now, which is kind of like toothpaste. I remember saying that for the S.H Monsterarts Godzilla, despite having it filmed 3 years ago. I remember that vividly. I said the inside, the way they painted his mouth, looks like there's toothpaste in his mouth. And it still kind of does with the Hiya Toys one here. So I guess that's one thing consistent, but I understand because they need to do that in order for the atomic breath to look convincing. Here is the atomic breath piece itself. I'm not gonna lie, it's a very clean and well-detailed atomic breath piece. Way more detailed than the S.H Monsterarts one. I have the Godzilla 2019 S.H Monsterarts figure, and that came with the atomic breath. Nowhere near as good as this. This is honestly the best one I've seen, highest quality. The Playmates one are obviously cheaper, so it's just a soft plastic transparent piece. Well, there is a little bit more detail here, not just in color, but also in texture as well. Whoever designed this at Hiya Toys is very, very clever, and integrating some white, not just making it pure blue, gives the contrast. It actually looks, you know, flamey, looks like a fire. So I'm not entirely sure how it's actually attached. There's no instruction books included here. So again, I guess there's one issue with this toy is that it's not really that flexible, because then this is the best I can do. You gotta there we go. Stick that all the way in. Okay, there you go. It's secured. That is secured, and except I can't really have him stand on his 2 feet for some reason. There you go. So that's pretty good. The atomic breath is detailed, but it's also very heavy, and also you gotta use a bit of force to really get that into his mouth. It looks convincing though. It looks like he is actually, you know, shooting the breath, not at another kaiju, but at the ground. Which I guess is my main complaint. It would be nice if the atomic breath can be aimed, you know, going forward, not down. It looks like he's just shooting up the ground, which he does. Godzilla does do that. Makes sense, but if there was an option to have the atomic breath shoot forward, it can look like he's shooting at another Titan in combat or something. That would be pretty sick. Overall, not bad. My first impressions of a Hiya Godzilla, of a Hiya toy. I am looking forward to see the upcoming ones. Obviously, the pink Godzilla one is going to be the most interesting one for me. But I also look forward to the Shimo. If this is the kind of quality we can expect from Hiya, which I would argue is just as good as S.H Monsterarts, I don't think there's one better than the other. They both have their good qualities in their own respective manners. So I honestly can't compare this to S.H Monsterarts, only in price, because this is obviously a lot cheaper. So yes, this gets the win because it's way more affordable. You don't have to drain your bank account to get your hands on this figure. And I paid 40 bucks for a used, remember. So looking at a normal $60 retail price for a sealed box, I think is pretty fair for what it's made for. The quality kind of makes sense. There's probably a lot of materials put into this, so 60 bucks is a happy price, at least for me. I just got lucky that I got it for 40 bucks. Also, the previous owner took really good care of this figure, so I don't really see any damages or any other issues with this figure. The only main complaint I'm gonna say is the head ball socket area is too weak. As you can see when I swapped the head, one slight movement and the head just slid right off like I decapitated him. So I'm gonna say this Godzilla vs. Kong Hiya Godzilla gets a 8 out of 10 just because of that one issue. But other than that, I'm very impressed. This figure works to play with, and as a collectible for any Godzilla fan to put it on the shelf, it works. So I do look forward to see the future Hiya Toys products. I want to see them all. I want to see Shimo the most, of course. But we also have the S.H Monsterarts stuff coming. You can bet I'll be getting those too. For now, we're gonna call it here. Thanks so much for watching my very first review of a Hiya Toys Godzilla. If you enjoyed, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe so when I do more Hiya Toys, you will be notified. For now, I'm gonna try to figure a way to add this to my collection, and we will see you in the next video. Bye for now.